Hello, Aquarius. So we're going to look at your November. This is Lee at Fresh Astrology. Welcome. And I was just reading through your comments from October because I'd asked you to tell me what it's like having Saturn and Pluto in your 12th house as you do. And, some of you had some gallows humor and a sense of humor about it, but I also got the feeling it's not been the easiest transit for you guys. And, I just want you to know I hear that. And thank you for sharing your experience, because I think when you share your experience, you talk about it, you're allowed to talk about it and get it out. And also, when you do it in this forum here, you're sharing with others. They may not comment or like what you shared, but you may have really helped somebody just by, hi, Gregory, how are you doing? You may have just helped somebody by saying what is real for you. And they may share some of that, even if they don't feel like commenting or making themselves known, but you may have inadvertently helped somebody just by being yourself and by stating the reality of your experience. It's a very powerful thing to do. So thank you for doing that in October. And you can do it here too. If you didn't get a chance to do it there, or tell me what you're feeling like. Because as I said in October, you are handling a lot internally. Oh, hi, Shelley. No, I just started. So if you have any questions, let me know. So this month, November, first, for those who don't know, I have a new website. So I'm no longer at freshastrology.com. I've merged the astrology that I do with the coaching that I do. So it's just a lot easier to manage in one place and to have one website and not two. And I actually have three because I have a different business, Camille, which is for roughly middle-aged women who are looking to transition, make some kind of transition in career or just in life and want support. So anyway, leesears.com, and I think I did put it in the description underneath. But you can go there and look at the membership lounge. That's a place that's kind of like a private YouTube space where I'm going to focus most of my effort to provide, monthly, annual, weekly astrology forecast in the membership lounge space, because they paid for it. They get their stuff a little bit sooner. And it's a place where I can do a little bit of astrology instruction on a basic level. And then if you're in there, I each month will pull somebody randomly to get a free reading. So anyway, come join me there. It's just a little more like built out than what I do here. There's a little more content. Okay, so I'm seeing some comments here. So Gregory Scott says, such a good cause. People who haven't worked for 25 years are totally lost when they're forced back into employment. Yes, right. So transitions of any kind, like going from what you knew to what you don't know, or to some new thing, that space can be really tricky for people. And it's nice to know that you can have support. So anyway, what we're going to do here today is look at 4 transits just to kind of get a feel for what's going on this month. Of course, this isn't everything that's going on, but I'm going to focus on 4 things here. So here we go. On November 5th, we have Mars, and of course, it's really more days than just this day, but November 5th, we have Mars square Pluto. And Mars is currently, at the time that I'm talking about, in November on the 5th, Mars is in Libra. And Pluto is just, seemingly stuck in Capricorn. And so, hang on a second. This chart jumped. I don't know if for people who actually read charts, if you set it and then it like jumps around on you. It moved to Pisces, and we're not quite there yet. Hang on a sec. The beauty of live is you get to wait for me to do this. Nope, not quite there. Let's see. Aha, here we are. Okay, good. Didn't think it looked right. Okay, so Mars is square Pluto. Mars is hanging out right on your midheaven. And let me just take a look here. This chart, sorry. Doing this live is frustrating sometimes because to finagle with the chart just takes time, and I hate to leave you guys hanging, but anyway, I'm just going to read it based on what I know. It's still not at the right date. Okay, so November 5th, Mars is square Pluto, and Mars will be in Libra, Pluto seemingly stuck in Capricorn. As we discussed in October, and as you guys discussed with me and commented about, it's tricky having Pluto there. And then to have Mars square, you might be thinking, youch, that sounds terrible. But I don't think it has to be. And I actually think, as hard as it's been to have Saturn and Pluto in the 12th house, I think, and I hear that. I know that, that it does feel the way it does for you guys. And it seems long. It seems, I think this phase of life for you guys can seem like it's just will never end, but it will. It will move on. It just feels so slow and like it's stuck. But I actually think, you guys can always tell me where I'm wrong, but I think having had this experience for so long, you are gaining mastery over it slowly. And it may still feel like, it may not feel like it's that great a victory. Like, it doesn't feel like a great trophy to be given. But I would, if I were working with you individually, I would probably kind of try to help you see that this is true probably for most of you. If you've survived this and you're here watching this, my best guess is that is dark of a trophy as it is to receive, I think you've gained some mastery here and some mental strength and emotional strength through this, even though it's felt like gritty and not fun all the time. So I don't think that Mars square Pluto has to be a bad transit. In fact, really what Mars represents is your energy. It's moving, kind of across your midheaven at this point, is you're getting there. And, in the ninth house, Mars is kind of happy there. It's not as happy in Libra, but it's kind of happy in the ninth house. It represents travel. And I saw that some comments were saying that, Aquarius people were traveling a lot, either mentally or physically. And I think it's likely at this particular time in November that you're really traveling physically. And also, this is where your energy goes. So it's all things ninth house. It's planning a trip, taking a trip, learning a lot about a topic on a higher level. It could be spiritual in nature. It could be, really anything. It could be legal, spiritual, but philosophical, but really anything at a higher level. It could show you actually in school or teaching at a higher level. It could show publishing or being on book tour. It could show like a marketing campaign. So because it can kind of, this area, if it's relating to career, can kind of show sales and marketing, big push that way, especially with Mars here. So it's really what we're talking about with Mars up here in this outer space. And I don't mean outer space. I mean like this public kind of outward yang space where we're not so much inward, but we're outward. is probably refreshing compared to all this inward energy with Saturn and Pluto, camped out and, back in your private life and in your mind and emotional space. It's probably refreshing to have Mars out here where you can do stuff in the world, which is what it does in the 9th and 10th houses, and you're the midheaven. And then eventually in the 11th house too. I think this is probably then a little more refreshing than previous months when Mars had been, a year ago, down at the base of your chart, just further pushing you toward maybe being alone or turning inward or turning inward into your, scary neighborhood of a brain. So I'm guessing for some of you, this could be, and try to look at it this way too, whatever's going on in your career. And I know not everybody's having like the same career experience. Some people are having positive with all the energy flowing through Scorpio here in your career zone. There's a lot of spotlight, energy, people, maybe new starts, maybe interviewing, new jobs. There's opportunity here with the energy flowing through. But sometimes one is getting a new job when one has had to leave an old job. Or maybe one needs to go get more money and it feels more stressful. But try to use this energy for you. Use it to get out and about in the world. Even if you don't physically travel right now or even want to, use your mind to stretch. Stretch your mind outward. Learn something new. You guys love that stuff. But learn something new. Keep doing it. It really is good medicine for you. And traveling of the mind, it is the Libra. Libra is, air and the mind. So it is a good way for you guys to refresh yourselves because the 9th house can be a place where you refresh yourself. So use that energy accordingly. And push yourself out if you can. Be a little more public, be a little more seen. It's good for you at this point. So next we're going to move on to the full moon. Let me just see if I can get this chart straight. It just moved on me. It was suddenly in Pisces, and I didn't want that because you guys aren't Pisces. All right, there we go. So the full moon on November 12th, we've got the sun in Scorpio, and we've got the moon in Taurus. And this axis on, oops, sorry, it's jumped again, sorry. I think I'm having Mercury retrograde issues. I'm just going to blame it on that. Man. There we go. Okay. So Scorpio hits your 10th house, as we were saying earlier. And Taurus is there in your 4th house of home. So, on a very mundane, surfacey level, this can show stuff with your parents, maybe a spotlight on their situation, or, just something to do with your parents or parenting. If you're a parent, you may have, especially if you're having a discussion with you're co-parenting. Even if you're still married, you're co-parenting and you don't always agree, even when you're married, how to do things. So there may be parenting issues or parent issues on a very mundane, surfacey level. Also, again, with all this energy flowing through the area of your job and Mercury retrograde, you may still be rethinking some things about your career. So I think it's okay to wait until later in the month to make an actual decision. I think it's good to do the research, do the interviews, do the thinking, the rethinking, and trying to delay a push for action until later in the month or a decision. You may find that you're kind of weighing something to do with, home versus work, private versus public. So working at home versus working somewhere in an office, commuting a distance, do you want to do that? You may find that you're weighing that. Or do you move to a different location to take a job? It's also, you're kind of standing at a crossroads where it really is it's like a classic crossroads where there's the past and the way you've been in the past. And then there's this future that could open up for you. But you can't really get to that future place unless you actually leave the past behind. Like when you're at a crossroads and you have choices of which road to go down, you can only pick one road. You can't be on two roads at the same time. You can't go backwards and forwards at the same time. You can't stay stuck and then move forward down that new road, quite literally. So there may be something about your past habits or your past mental framework, your emotional world, where it's just been challenging to move forward from that, to release the past. You're actually blessed with Uranus in the fourth house here in Taurus, because it will help shake loose the past. It will help you do this, but it will feel maybe unsettling. It'll feel sometimes jarring to do so, but it's actually Uranus is doing you a big favor here. Because for those of you who have felt stuck, like you can't quite move into the future you really want, this energy, just like the energy of Mars helps you go out into the world and learn new things where it is right now, the energy of Uranus down here is helping you move forward and to change. Let me see if you guys have any questions. Oh, there are a lot of things here. So I see Path Traveler. Good morning. I see Anna Mary. You want to know how the career and finances of Aquarius in November have been. And you've been out of a job since June. And it's really, really hard to get along with day-to-day expenses. Yeah. Shelley says, let's see if there are things in common. I'm going to address that. I have them in my 12th house in 2020, was born with Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus, and the South Node in Libra, all in the 12th. I have children like that. So it makes you very smart, and you've got a very lively internal life. It's not all bad. I know it can be heavy sometimes. So Joe asks, is this for Aquarius rising? It's for all. It's for sun, rising, and moon. You will find if you listen to each one of those three each month that one's going to resonate slightly more. But they all may resonate somewhat. But you'll find you'll be able to rank them. This one, I relate to most this month. This one is second strongest. This one's like a third or distant third or not so much. You'll find that it changes month to month. And from forecaster to forecaster, worst time of your life, says Tanya. Yeah. And Joe says same. And I'm not surprised. Well, let's see. Kuan Yin. I love that name, Kuan Yin, as you know. If I have Aquarius in my Mars, what does it mean? Do you mean if you have Mars in Aquarius? Well, your energy expresses itself in a very Aquarian way when you have Mars in Aquarius. So let's address this. So I've heard other people say joblessness or losing a job. I've heard, worst time in my life, really difficult. And that makes a lot of sense. And you're not crazy. Like the good thing about astrology sometimes is it can validate a tough experience. what I want to be careful of with astrology, and the whole reason I'm even on YouTube, is to make sure that you know astrology is not here to hurt you. It's not like Saturn and Pluto don't want to destroy your life or make you miserable. What the goal is here, and it's a tougher goal, it's one of the bigger goals in life, is to deeply transform and to learn where we've previously been unwilling to learn. And that's hard. I mean, that's a hard thing to do. Deeply transforming is really, really difficult when you think about it. How many people, look around you, the people you've known for any length of time whatsoever. I mean, how much has any one of those people deeply transformed? Look at people you've known for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. How many people do you know who've done like deep, deep transformation? So much so that it started to really show on the outside, and you could just see like, wow, this person's undergone something huge in a positive way. It's easier to see somebody who's just been destroyed by a divorce or a job loss. That's not deep transformation. That's like a moment in time. It hurts. It feels yucky. One has to figure a way around it and past it. But how many people do you actually see where you're like, wow, they've just done something really cool? They're definitely out there. I have examples in my life. I know that I've actually done something similar internally. And I know from that experience, and also knowing the stories of the people I know who've done this kind of deep transformation, is it's not easy. It can feel like you're moving through the worst phase of your life. However, you can get to the other side. I think as Winston Churchill said, when you're in hell, keep moving, something like that. Just keep going. You got to keep going. Don't give up. You don't want to stay stuck in hell, basically. You want to keep moving. And you've got to kind of pick yourself up sometimes to get yourself to do that. But that doesn't mean it's easy. So let's move on to Venus conjunct Jupiter this month is a nicer aspect. So let's see. This is happening on the 24th, toward the end of the month. I think the end of the month is going to feel a little better. In many ways, Mercury will have moved forward. That challenging square with the, Mars is gone. Sorry, when I have to pause, I'm just adjusting the chart. So weird. We've definitely got some Mercury retrograde issues going on here. It's very odd. Okay. So let's talk about that Jupiter conjunct Venus on the 24th. It's a nicer time. What's especially nice for you guys is where it's happening. It's happening in the 11th house, which is a fun place anyway. It's usually fun. It's really hard to be too down in this area, although it can happen. But it's generally a place in your chart, kind of like the 5th house. It actually sits across from the 5th house. The 5th house, again, it's not always, fun and games, but it's a place where there's so much opportunity for lightness and love and light and fun. Same with the 11th house in a different way. There's so much opportunity here, and Sagittarius does rule this area for you. And you've had Jupiter going through here. I can hear in kind of the tone of what people are writing in the comments, in October and now, that not everybody's feeling this bright future opening up. Not everybody's seeing the opportunity. And I want to invite you to work on that this month. Sometimes if we've been through a dark space, and again, I know this from experience. I'm not just guessing or telling you something that I haven't experienced. When we've been in a dark space, it may take a little work, a little conscious effort to put ourselves in a space where we can allow some sunshine in. we can allow ourselves to see the opportunity. So I invite you this month to do some stuff to work on that. Like, I would ask you, like, if I was working with you personally, let me see. Oh, I see an empty nester there. Yep, that's me too. I'm just reading here. Okay. So in terms of how do you open yourself up to opportunity? How do you see things in a more positive light? How do you, pull the darkness away if that's all you see and see light? It's of course it's easier said than done. It's definitely possible. Part of the battle, like the biggest part of that battle, is just telling yourself that you're willing to do it. Like, just saying to yourself is really powerful. It's deceptively simple sounding, and it probably sounds like, well, that would never work. That's how I would think of it if if I didn't know it worked. And when I was first learning some of this stuff in coaching, I was thinking, yeah, that sounds nice for you, but I don't see how that would really work so quickly. Bully for you that happened for you, but I don't. So I've been there. I tend to approach things as a skeptic at first, and so I know from experience that it's bizarrely effective to just tell yourself, like, okay, I'm willing to see more opportunity. I'm willing to see that there's opportunity for me. I'm willing to see that life isn't all bad. I'm willing to see, what I'm grateful for, and shift my focus. That alone is just so bizarrely powerful. And it takes constant cultivation like a garden does. I get up every single day and do my coaching exercises for myself. So the stuff that I teach other people to do, I use myself every single day, as do Carolyn and Mimi, who this is more my work, and Camille, also a link below. But we get up every single day and use the tools that we like the best and that are most effective for us. So you can definitely do it. And really most you've won the battle, I think, just by agreeing with yourself that you're intentionally going to look at life that way. Okay, so Peacefully Lauren says, I celebrate every little task. That's what I do too. I literally do that. I literally walk in my head. I walk around as I get myself up in the morning. If it's a little harder or I'm not as enthused, I literally do that. I celebrate every tiny thing I do, like making the bed, brushing my teeth, like the tiniest things. That's where you find the joy. And it changed your life, as it has mine. So thank you for bringing that up. That's literally what I do. So we have that in common. All right, let's look at this new moon. Speaking of new opportunity. Let's see, I'm reading. It's a slow moving planet. Slow moving planet wants to know, like, is it just one more year that I have to do this, or that's the way I'm reading this? Only one more year to force myself to look at the positive. And I would say the answer is no. But that's for every person on the planet. That's for, I'm not an Aquarius. I'm not having this, but I'm having pretty good transits right now. Like, they're pretty good. Oh, you're joking. Okay, good. Good. I'm glad you're joking, because I hate to break the news to you, but thank you. That's that gallows humor that Aquarians are good at right now. Or you're kind of joking. No, it's every day for the rest of your life. There may be a time, like, there are people on the planet, a few who really just are kind of now in a state of grace, a state of peace, and a state of, I don't know, kind of true awakening. There's a lot of talk now about, being woke and, awakening. And I agree that a lot of people are going through the process, but it's just like this really long process that you may never really fully complete during this lifetime. So for those of us who aren't the truly enlightened ones walking the earth, and there are a few handful, it's a daily process of inviting that process to continue by, having some tricks up your sleeve, some coaching tools. Like Lauren has one where she just literally talks herself through little tiny tasks and congratulates herself and celebrates the fact that she's done them, which is something I realize I don't like say in the morning, okay, I'm going to get up and do this, but it's just something I do. And I think it has changed my life. So thank you for bringing that one up. All right, let's look at the new moon. So this is just so fitting for the kind of talk we've just had about being open to new beginnings. So let's go look at that one. All right, so this new moon is right at the end of near the end of the month, November 26th, and it's in Sagittarius at the very beginning. I'm just kind of looking at your chart here. It's in the same area where you've just had Jupiter and Venus conjunct. So again, there is this possibility of a new job for those of you who are jobless and looking and trying to figure out how to pay for things. There's so much opportunity here for you this month. Use the energy of this month. Get out there, give yourself some pep talks, celebrate the tiny things like, just looking at a new job description. If you actually fill it out, the form is usually electronic these days. Upload that resume, celebrate it every single time you do it. And it's a numbers game. You have to do it a lot usually. And even with the same company, I coach people all the time. And this is from experience in the corporate world. You can apply at the same company over and over and over and over again for different jobs at the same time. Like, screw them if they think that's a bad thing. It shows that you're committed to that company. It shows that you care, about finding a job. It shows a lot of determination. It shows way more good stuff than bad stuff to just be really persistent. So, use the energy this month. You've got Mars, you've got Mercury, you've got moon activity, and the sun and Venus and Jupiter all over here, kind of in this area of pulling you forward toward, the arc of where you're going. It's incredible energy to get you moving in this arena if you want some action, getting a job or a promotion or more money or opportunity coming your way. It's really good right now in November. It's even good, use the last of October too. Use this energy, put yourself out there and give yourself little pep talks about the tiniest little thing. And this new moon right here is just right kind of on the cusp between the 10th and 11th houses. It is firmly in Sagittarius, but you could kind of look at both houses. And so it most decidedly impacts your career and the ability to start something new. So get on it. Use that Mars, and you have the Mars energy. You'll find that you do have the energy. If you don't feel you have it right this second, I promise you, Mars does bring you, this is where your energy is moving through your chart. You will feel this energy. You will be able to use it. And the universe kind of cooperates. It's kind of moving along with you here. So capture this energy. There is opportunity here. Allow people to help you, and ask for help, because with this 11th house stuff going on, there are people who will step in to help you. There will people who will open doors. So, there's good stuff going on, especially for those people who said they're really struggling to pay bills and the job market's been hard for them. You do have a lot of good energy here. So just try to have some faith in that and use it. Let's see. Slow moving planet, who was kind of joking before, but not really, says 2019 has been a tough but good year. And that's kind of what I was talking about in the beginning. these are tough transits, but I think many of you, if you look carefully, you'll see that your foundation that you're standing on emotionally and in your mind is much, much stronger, even though you've been challenged there. It's also where you've gathered strength. See if you can see that. And then you say, Slow Moving Plant says, I would like to hear if 2020 represents a big shift to a new dark age, like some are saying, and the end of the good times. Well, so I just no. I do believe, and it's interesting. I just wrote a whole thing. I think it was, I do weekly emails to my different groups, but I think it was to Camille. I just wrote about how every time I turn on like a podcast or, Facebook Live, people are talking like there are these themes that people use words like evil, and they talk about hell, the nature of hell. And I was like, what? Why am I hearing this so much? And then I realized we're close to Halloween. So I just did a whole email kind of essay on this topic. Not that I think a dark age is coming, but that what is it about that? This idea of light and dark, good and evil, heaven and hell. What does that really represent to us on a very basic level as humans? The dark and the light. We have very visceral responses to that, to these concepts. And there are times in different nations with different peoples, it kind of rotates around the planet. But, there are eras when things seem more challenging, but there's always something good going on. It's very, I really look to the Chinese symbol of yin and yang. There's, I think there's a lot of like that one symbol. There's just so much wisdom there, just in a visual symbol. When there seems to be darkness, there's always light, and the darkness does not exist without the light. The light doesn't exist without the darkness. I think rather than trying to guess what the world is going to do, it's really important for each person to decide what he or she is going to do. So we each have a choice. And I don't know if it was Einstein. I always have to look these things up. And you never know about quotes. When you see quotes online, you would need to really dig. Maybe it's Einstein who said, the most important decision there is each person's decision. And I'm paraphrasing hugely here, but the most important decision any person can make is, do I live in a kind universe or an evil universe? And he didn't say it exactly that way. Totally paraphrasing, but that was the question. And he was troubled by this. This, as a scientist, this was a troubling thing to think. It was disturbing. But the idea behind that is that our intention and our belief system actually impacts reality. So if a bunch of people decide that, yes, we're going into the dark ages, they actually, that belief and putting their attention there can actually cause it to happen. This is woo-woo science. This is stuff that really happens, in physics. They can see that perception, when you look at a particle under, high magnification, they've seen that your attention actually impacts what that particle does. And you can, extrapolate that on a larger level, this could be true. And be careful what you choose to believe in. Be careful where you put your attention. You don't have to even believe what I just said, that that's true. But I think the thing to ask is, what if it were true? What if it's true that if where I put my attention and what I choose to believe actually causes stuff to happen? What if that's actually true? Do I want to be responsible for bringing in the dark age? What could I do instead? Maybe that's happening. Maybe I can't control everything. This is the way I would look at it. Um, I can't control that, but I can control what I choose to think. I can control what kind of environment. Do I want a dark ages inside myself? Do I want to have a spiritual dark age of my own? Do I want to turn my mind off and regress? I do not, I would say to myself. And I would say to you, I do not want that. So choose carefully what you want to believe in and what your intention is for yourself. Do you want to keep growing and moving toward the light? Do you want to do that? Do that then. Be in charge of the environment you can control, and don't worry about the dark age. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just reading here. Sorry, guys. Yeah, we must so peacefully, Lauren says, we must change ourselves to change the world. Exactly. So decide, what kind of world do you want internally and externally? They're connected. And what we can work on most is what's going on inside of us. We can clean up that. That's where we have the most control. And it ripples out. So just keep moving toward the light, guys. All right. I'm going to have to go now, but thanks for showing up. I wanted to spend some extra time with Aquarius this week after reading through October. It sounded like you guys would like to chat a little bit about what's been going on. So thanks for showing up, and I hope you have a good month. Take care.